day in the pub, Seb and Verity were socialising with hilarity.
They knew there and then that their options were vast. They bought some equipment and made a podcast.
What do you think you are doing, you twits? It's cliched and obvious, you know.
If this doesn't work, well then we'll call it quits. But right now just listen to our show.
It's called Three in a Bar.
We'll talk to musicians about their lives so far.
Three in a bar.
We hope that you like it, okay? Hooray!
Hey!
Hi!
My name is Seb Philpott.
And my name is Verity Simmons, and this is Three in a Bar.
Yes, it is. It's a podcast all about musicians. We chat to a different one each week. And this week, we chatted to someone very exciting. And
She is exciting.
I'm talking as if I don't remember who it is, but I definitely do. It is, of course, Irish, but London-based clarinettist Jessie Grimes.
Hooray! Jessie, she's great. You say clarinettist, but she does it all, doesn't she?
Yeah, she really does. She balances a busy schedule performing as a soloist, a chamber musician, an orchestral player, as well as a teacher, presenter, and workshop leader.
Wowzers, that's a lot
And
of stuff.
they're not my words, the words of Jessie Grimes from her brand new website, jessiegrimes.com.
Good one.
So she's a member of the Jacquin Trio, who are very successful. They've won the Royal Overseas League and the St Martin in the Fields chamber music competitions. Big ones. They are big competitions.
Yeah, they totally are.
She's been principal clarinet of the Wexford Festival Opera Orchestra since 2014.
Ooh.
She teaches at the Royal College of Music Junior Department. She's presented live on BBC Television, and she's presented on Radio 3 as well, and leads educational projects for the Ulster Orchestra, Sinfonia Viva, Wigmore Learning, and all sorts of others.
She has so much to say, and we had such a great chat with her that we've actually had to separate this episode into two. You lucky people.
Yes.
It's double whammy week, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to have part one today and part two tomorrow.
That's right.
Just to keep you abreast of the situation. If you're listening in the future, it will just roll into the next episode. You probably won't even notice.
Seamless.
But we're going to do part one now. And we went to chat at Jessie in a lovely flat in, where is it? It's right by my house, near Sydenham.
Lovely leafy Sydenham.
Mayor Park, that kind of area. A big thing that she's been doing over the summer is her online show, Jessie's Homemade Garden Jam, which she filmed and presented and everything in her garden.
You were in one, Seb, weren't you?
I was in one, yeah.
Very good. I loved it.
You can check them all out on Facebook. So we went to the source. We went to her, we didn't go to a garden, it was a bit cold, but we sat in a lounge and we had a lovely chat.
Yes.
So here we go. This is part one of our chat with Jessie Grimes.
You came up recently in a conversation because we had a chat with you guys. You were like, some days we don't brush our teeth at all. Like,
Now look, I always brush my teeth. For a lot of my life, I only did it in the mornings, but I do it every night as well, and sometimes 3 times a day because
floss.
Sometimes if there's food in there.
Daily flosser.
Do you? Oh, I should get into that because I've got a dubious wisdom tooth at the back that catches food. Ugh.
I got mine removed and then there's a bit of a gap there for the food as well. But I did that Invisalign thing, you know, the braces.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of years ago, and that meant suddenly everything changed because you have to clean your teeth every time you take them in and out to eat. So like I got so much better at scrubbing my face.
So you got Invisalign, what are they, braces?
Oh my God, it's the best thing ever. When I was about 7, I get emails from students' parents all the time being like, Jemima's going to have braces soon. Is this going to interfere with the clarinet? Like everybody just should do it when they're a kid. Because I said, because I was a massive nerd, I was just like, no, I don't want to do it because, it might affect my clarinet. It was like big goals of playing the Pink Panther. And I didn't do it. And both of my siblings did. And I hated my teeth for years and years and years. And then I did it. It costs a couple of grand though.
And they are very neat and tidy now.
Yeah.
I say with my fangs. I had a student start laughing when I was demonstrating something to her the other day. And I was like, well, there's loads of things she could have been laughing about. And she went,
Your front teeth are set back far, aren't they? I went, no, I've got fangs, actually. She's like, you might want to get a brace for that. Oh, thanks.
That's really rude.
So rude.
I got called a vampire in a workshop once, and I was like, "That is it. I am spending my savings on braces."
Did it affect your playing though?
No, and actually, it was deadly for playing bass clarinet because I don't like the vibrations when I'm playing really low a lot. So I often in like rehearsal be like, pop them in and play. Yeah, it actually worked quite nicely.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
because I think my teeth are going bad, and because I've got a bit of an underbite, which is a very sexy thing to have. If
the strong content.
Yeah.
yes, it is.
But you brass guys are weird because you're like, if I move my teeth, it's going to change my shape and everything. And I thought that, but actually the braces thing, this is not a sponsored ad, by the way. I thought because it changes so incrementally over weeks and weeks and weeks, you sort of adjust anyway, and I didn't notice any difference. Like my teeth are quite a different shape now, and I reckon my embouchure is probably different as well, but because it changed so slowly over like nearly 2 years, it was fine.
Okay. Well, basically, because of this underbite thing, all the front 4 teeth on the top and bottom, they've kind of ground down. You can't really see. It's like, I'm doing an outline with my finger now. It's like, it goes down and then up a bit and then down and then it's almost like that. It's like you've got the outer shell and then in the middle, it's like kind of gone in a bit, like a U shape at the bottom.
Right.
And they start to get really sensitive and hurt a lot. And that's like where all the air goes through when you play the trumpet. So I've still got quite a lot of life left in my life. So I'm hoping that I can carry on playing the trumpet and that the teeth won't just keep grinding down.
You can
and
get
then
you a night guard or something.
Oh, I have one of those as well.
Yeah.
But you can get the bottoms only done. So you can have a thingy, I can't remember what they call it. A brace thing for the bottom only.
I think I need like tips put on the end, like the top bit, the bottom bit, the Tipex.
Yeah.
Like if I could paint on some enamel.
Well, listen, my father-in-law, who is an avid 3 in a Bar listener, is a dentist, ex-dentist. So, if you want to, Malcolm, hello, if you'd like to send in some advice, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, I would really be interested.
I reckon the advice would be go to your dentist.
Yeah. I think it would be just Tipex it. Yeah, Tipex it on. Fine.
Blue tack. Actually, Sugru, I smashed if you can see, I've got a piano in the background and the like music stand part of it. I was moving out to do one of the things in the garden and I broke it. But I've glued it on with this Sugru stuff. I don't know. It's like blue tack that like goes permanent. It's amazing.
God, that sounds brilliant.
You can put some Sugru on your teeth as well.
Like polyfiller.
Yeah. I mean, it's literally like blue tack that you can mold. It's really good for fixing like cables and stuff.
Yeah.
But it goes sort of semi-solid and it doesn't move then.
Hey, I hate to go off topic, but you were just talking about your garden
and
garden events. Did you like it?
Very good.
Oh, I know I'm really late to this party, but I've just started watching them back. The homemade garden jams, isn't it? Mm-hmm. They are so brilliant. I genuinely love it. I wish I'd come to them earlier and seen it at the low points of lockdown because you're fantastic at hosting these things and it's a joyous thing. Can you tell us a bit about them?
Well, I'm going to do a weird backwards description. Mm-hmm. I'm now reading back. I'm still doing this thing called the Artist's Way. And one of the things, if anyone has anyone done it here?
Seb was telling me about it.
You told me all about it.
It's like an unblocking your creativity program thing. That's like really old now, but a lot of people were doing it in lockdown, and I got through to about week 9. And then on week 9, spoiler, you have to read back over every morning. You write 3 A4 pages of like sort of stream of consciousness, just a brain dump. And now I'm reading back over like May, June, and the only thing that's keeping me going through lockdown is the garden and just being there. But I was also working a lot on like, what do I want to do? Like, who am I now that I'm not really playing that much and everything's changed, everything's shut down. And it was a massive process of going through that to like finally get to do this thing, which is, I did 7 episodes, basically in my garden, got my mates to come and play music. And we just messed around with like 8 vegetables that we'd grown and played silly games. It's really hard to describe, but I felt like I watched all these amazing Wigmore Hall live concerts and things, and they were great, but I still find it really hard to engage with an online streamed concert now, which I shouldn't be saying because I can see anything keeping everything going. But I find them really kind of tricky to watch because the whole amazingness of going and watching a concert is about sort of everyone being captive in the same space.
Yeah.
And I think when you don't have that and you have the option to just like check your phone or go for a wee, you don't sit through the whole experience of a concert.
No.
So it's like, I don't really want to just be like, hello, here's just my living room. I'm going to do, you know. So anyway, this sort of evolved into what it is. It started actually with City of London Symphonia. We're doing these comfortable classical things.
All right.
They started off like people in their living rooms playing stuff, and it was all super relaxed. And I do projects with CLS who are now nominated for a what's it called? PRS? No, not PRS. The Royal Society.
Philharmonic Society.
Or PS, there we go.
Right.
Yeah.
Loads of letters. But the fancy awards thing, that the big classical music awards.
Yeah.
So they're nominated this year for a project that we do called Sound Young Minds, which is in Bethlehem and Maudsley Psychiatric Hospital. And I started working on that project, which is far removed from like me dicking around in my garden. Can I swear? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My parents won't listen. They don't know what a podcast is. Actually, they might figure it out. Anyway, so I was kind of had a connection with them through that. And then I work in a local school, and a pal plays with them. And he was like, I don't really want to just play the bassoon in my living room. I've done one of these already. And it's like, can we do something together? So me and Chris Raleigh and Illid Jones ended up in my garden for sort of social distancing. It was in the middle of like, so I don't know, was it April or something? Proper anxious pandemic vibe. So we're like, let's do it in the garden. And then it rained, and we were just like, it's also beginning like 3 wind instruments. It's a bit like the kind of, I don't find the music particularly thrilling. Sorry, wind trio enthusiasts. So I felt like I wanted to like bring a bit more than just like, here's some E-bar. So we had Chris in the shed, and Illid played music, stuck it in a courgette plant and stuff, and it rained the whole time, and we were just sort of silly, and we had neighbours join in. We had some people came, we hadn't told anybody, but neighbours came around. There's like a back sort of, used to be an orchard connected to flats on the other side, and people sneak in.
I love seeing them in the background.
Yeah, so
they're
good.
great.
So funny.
So it started with that, and I thought, that was really fun, and it ended up getting like a lot more views than a lot of the other really good things that CLS had put out. And then we went away maybe for a bit or something. I don't know. I had a time to think, and I was like, actually, I'm going to do something like this again. And that is the formula, to be in the garden and mostly messing around, but play some good music as well. So it started there. It was I found it really hard to like come up with the bravery or the balls to put my name on it and be like, this is Jessie's homemade garden jam. I also had to try and resist being too self-deprecating as well.
Yeah.
Like Jessie's really shit, stupid thing in the garden that no one should watch. You know,
Yeah.
it's really hard to do that. But then, I don't know who we got. The first one was my trio, which also felt safe because we had like, you know, we've got sort of followers on Facebook and things. And then it just became, Emma my wife really goaded me and was just like, I was like, I want to just do one a month, and sort of quite hesitant about it. And she was like, okay, well, you should probably do one a week. And I messed around. I did a couple. And then for the month of September, I was like, while the weather is good, let's do one a week. So it sort of ramped up until mid-October was the last one.
Right.
Seb put a group of very handsome brass players together for the 6th one, and 7th one was my trio again.
Yeah,
that was mid-October. So it was an amazing sort of journey from like, I absolutely feel frozen and don't want to do anything. I don't know what to contribute to this new world of like people thinking up new ways to perform, to like it almost becoming like, gotta do the jam, gotta do the poster and the social media, you know, and becoming, it almost felt like a job for a while. And I got pretty burnt out by the end of it, actually. Yeah. It's pretty knackering.
It's a lot of work, especially week on week, you know.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you guys, I'm sure, are the same with the podcast, that like it helps to have a structure to a week and an extra thing to focus on.
Yeah.
But I found producing one a week, and also being the only person, like you guys have each other, I suppose, that like producing, writing, planning, performing, hosting, and it all being in my house as well, so having to like clear up afterwards and make sure the garden's okay, and also make the garden look nice, so that, like,
yes, and it really does. That's right.
There's so much going on in those videos that but I think the main thing is that it's about you and your personality, and you're just people want to watch you because it's
absolutely.
Obviously you just got a great enthusiastic personality.
I suppose coming from this other side of performing that I have, which is like workshop leading and presenting and things. It's so natural to me to want to like bring people in a natural and a warm way to show them the music, as opposed to being like, sit up straight, don't cough, don't clap where you're not supposed to. That feels really straitjacketed, and instead just trying to do it the complete other way around. My sister had described it as like the sort of backstage version or behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That like, and I'm also super, super passionate about that really straitjacketing thing that we have as sort of perfectionists in classical music, of having to make everything be perfect. All the notes have to be right. You know, we have to do another take because somebody like played a slightly wrong note.
Yeah.
I'm much more interested in hearing a recording that's like spontaneous and fun, that has like a wrong note in it, than this sort of polished thing that classical music is going in that direction. Like, I find that really hard. So I wanted to also put something out in the world that was a bit anti that. Like, I played terribly in a lot of them. Like, and loads of people played loads of wrong notes.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter. That's amazing. That I don't know how that happens, where you really don't care when you're watching it.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter. It's exciting. It's fun.
Yeah. And you're sort of battling the elements. And like, we had one episode with Fiona Kelly, who's like an incredible flute player.
Yeah.
She's back now playing principal with the Swedish Chamber Orchestra for a half a season or something.
Great.
But like, one of the best flute players in the country. And her fingers went so cold that she couldn't play the instrument. It's really funny. She's like, she sounds like a beginner. But, you know, I had to go in and get her a hot water bottle to like warm her hands up. But all of that sort of part of it I don't know. I felt really strongly about that, breaking down that thing.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And it feels like, I thought when I was watching the first one, that it's got that kind of Saturday morning television vibe where, you know, when you go from one corner and you were doing a bit of potting, in fact, repotting something or taking out, and then going around seeing the musicians there and then the people watching. It's just like instantly draws you in, and I should definitely go back and be watching them all.
Yeah, because I've been doing little bits of presenting and doing things for radio and some little podcasty things, but I also have always wanted, like all the way through lockdown, particularly thinking like, what project do I want to do that's me? And this is what ended up sort of accidentally coming out and happening, which is really fun.
Yeah,
I think it wouldn't work if you weren't good at your instrument too, and you had a real like. You're clearly a really well-rounded musician, and the people that you get in to play as well. Because what I love when I did our one with the brass is that we only chose the music like literally 2 days before, and like so we just like got the music together, rehearsed it in this room with all of us in here, and then we just played it in like the cold, and we ran it through a couple of times, and the quality of the playing was never like an issue, because we knew everyone was going to be good.
Yeah.
But we played a blooming like clarinet amazing piece, was it like the Gershwin?
Oh, that was
preludes
great.
together.
I really like that. Yeah.
Which must be really hard, right?
Yeah, it's a bit. I felt like I did that to myself as well through all of this, because also one of those things. Because I'm not like first call for any of these major UK orchestras. It's just not the way I've ended up creating my career. And I'm finally coming to a place of being like, that's not a failure. That's just the way I do all these different things, and that's great. And I can sort of embrace that now. But one of those things is that there's not much call for like a fourth or a fifth clarinet in like a huge symphony anymore. So I'm not going to get booked for a while. And that side of things, like I do chamber music, but that's sort of pre-arranged, and they're usually my good friends, and that there's not that feeling of the pressure and the buzz of that turning up to a rehearsal and not knowing what the music's going to be, and that sort of edge of your seat thing. I think I was probably missing that, and so ended up sort of creating it by doing it, probably because it was just me running it as well. I was so distracted by like, I need to book the players, because it ended up being week on week, book the players on one day and then get the finalised pictures and make a poster and all that sort of stuff, that I got to about Tuesday and I'd be like, shit, what music should we play? I couldn't even, but it meant that like you're sort of cramming, and that cramming thing, I think, I don't know, I must get some buzz out of it somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you get nervous for any of the shows?
No, as it went on, like our one that we did got like 11,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wowzers.
Cool.
So by the sort of end, I was like, oh, there's actually more than like my mum and dad watching this. Because the first one was like, you know, I knew, and there became like loyal, lovely friends that like watched every week.
Yeah.
I'll show you later. I got cards people sent afterwards and like little presents and things. So I started to kind of, want to live up to it a little bit. particularly, yeah. But by the time I hit my stride and the episodes I thought were really fun and really good, I then felt a pressure to like want to make them continue to be fun. Like after we did like you rapping Poddington Peas, I didn't know what we were going to do next week to like try and like not up it, but like match it in terms of like.
I mean, how do you?
Yeah.
How do you match that?
That was totally spontaneous.
It was totally spontaneous. I love that.
I feel like you try and like shoehorn in a rap at any given opportunity.
Any moment.
He's done it.
I can't
in the
even
first
do
one
it.
we did the Hamilton rap with Rodney as well. So what's next?
Yeah, I know. I just and I'm not very good at it at all. I've got really bad diction.
I think you're very committed to it, though.
That's what he's a trier.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'll do it. But yeah, so like the presenting side of things. I mean that's the sort of thing you don't have lessons in that, do you? At any point, you just sort of pick that up as you go along. I mean, I guess did that have its sort of roots in teaching, like doing workshops and stuff like that?
I reckon it did. Like I've always sort of put myself in front of a group of people from quite young. Like I was teaching, I've avidly kept diaries throughout my entire life, and when I go home, I kind of sometimes dip in or let Emma read a couple. And like even at 16 or 17, I was teaching and stuff. So I did a degree in music education in Dublin because I was too scared. I thought I was too crap at my instrument and didn't know what to do. So I chose this sort of safe option, which was like, well, if I fell and broke my face or my hands, I could teach. It was really a decision made out of fear. I was going through actually a massive mental breakdown at the time as well, which we can circle back to. But that decision to do that meant that like through uni it was this weird degree. So I did like sort of a performance degree because I had to play like 2 concertos and recitals and stuff to graduate, but we also each year had to do 2 different teaching placements in schools. I remember one of my first ones, I was probably only, because I was quite young, I was like a young for my year kid, so I was probably only 18 going in. I was teaching 6th year, which is like year 13 kids.
Oh, that's
and I got put in super rough schools.
Yeah.
And actually, she will definitely not listen to this, but my old tutor saw one of the garden jams and got in touch to say like, I'm super proud of you, and like donated money and stuff, which is so cute. But she obviously had me pegged early on and thought that I could handle it. And I won't really forgive her because the first one I was definitely 18, and when I arrived, it was like one of the rougher parts of Dublin. There was like a burnt out car in the car park. Like it was dark times.
Oh God!
And I was doing all the sort of rookie mistakes, like turning my back to the class to write stuff on the board, and then like there'd be a kid on the floor, and somebody had a fight. It was awful. But I think that sort of like trying to wrangle a group of 17-year-olds when you're 18, being like, hello, like starting there, everything became sort of easier once you've had that sort of baptism. I remember coming home and just like sleeping. I just would be exhausted. I do not know how teachers actually do it.
Oh,
I mean, then usually they have about 10 years on the kids, which is like an advantage, but
that's really hard. How did you get them on the side?
I didn't. Well, sometimes I don't think I did. I'm not sure. I worked really hard on like trying to be cool, but like, you know, trying to
Michelle Pfeiffer in that film.
You just take a chair, you turn it around, and you sit backwards on the chair.
Yeah.
Start rapping.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes I succeeded, sometimes I didn't. I survived, which I think is all you can hope for in that sort of scenario.
Yeah.
So when I moved here then, after I graduated, I was like, I absolutely don't want to teach. That's one thing I was confirmed that I knew after 4 years of this music education degree. Was like that we started with, I think, I don't really remember now, but probably 14 or 15 students at the beginning, and we graduated with like 8 of us.
Oh my goodness.
It was rough.
Yeah.
Because I also did a history degree in there as well, just for like the laugh. Because then you could teach music and history. There's all this sort of fear thing of like, if I'm too crap a musician, at least I can do that. So then I took a year out, again, not confident enough to audition for every conservatoire in the whole of the UK, and got into most of them, except the Royal Academy of Music. Not holding a grudge. Massively holding a grudge. Most unpleasant audition experience of my life. They're horrible.
Yeah, how was that?
I'm not going to name names. They've retired now anyway. But this person, non-gendered, came up in my face and was like, play a chromatic scale. First of all, they were like, they hadn't specified scales for the audition. And I play a chromatic scale as high and as fast as you can. Tongued.
What?
And I was immediately like, that's not on the requirements.
No.
You know, like it's required to be a good musician. Sort of shit like that. They were horrible. Anyway, bottled that exam or audition. Anyway, I came
Wow, that's
here
not
and was
nice.
like starting to like, I ate like triple decker sandwiches and put on a lot of weight, like trying to just practice all the time, like fuel. But in the middle of that somewhere, I joined Live Music Now, who are this amazing charity, and started doing workshops with them. Really bad. Oh God, they were so bad when I think about them now. But I think that's finally kind of clicked into place, the like link for what on earth I was doing for 4 years, learning to teach. And then suddenly I was in like an SEN school presenting a concert, and it felt much easier. And it sort of went on from there, and I sort of picked up different bits. Ended up really quite early on, like live presenting something for BBC Telly with one of those 10 pieces things.
That's brilliant.
And I got a massive buzz out of that. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Through something you went through for fear,
Yeah.
has turned into something where you're putting yourself in these situations that loads of people would just find incredibly fearful, and that you come out confidently in that, and you've got that foundation there
Yeah.
now to stop that fear.
It's a funny one, and I talk about this with my therapist. Everyone should have a therapist, by the way. But that, like, I absolutely don't have any fear going into, like, I do small bits. By no means an established presenter, but small bits for Radio 3, and I'll go into the studio, and I'll know that whatever I record will be broadcast to, like, I don't know what their listenership is now, 500,000, 1 million
Yeah.
people, I don't know. And it doesn't scare me at all. I'm just like, oh, I wonder when I can get home. Yeah, I think just different people have different fear things, though,
Yeah.
don't they? And this is something I just find really, really easy. Like, I don't know, it's just, I mean, the sort of stereotypical, I'm not going to say racist, but a little bit racist, like, oh, you've got the gift of the gab. The Irish thing that I like middle-aged wealthy men here say to me a lot. That, like,
Still
that gift
now?
you have. Yes.
Oh God.
Wow.
I think it's the like red hair Maureen O'Hara thing. They go straight in. They're
Just
not middle aged
tap
anymore.
straight
They're
into
old,
that. Yeah.
older. Yeah. So it's something I find easy anyway. And maybe that thing of trying to keep your thoughts in order, like you're thinking ahead of what's coming and how you're
Yeah.
going to do it, and doing something like the Garden Jam where I'm like playing some Gershwin prelude that's really effing hard, and I'm like, what's next? Oh yeah, we're going to do the tomato juggling. And then after that, I need to segue somehow into something else. That's a really fun thing to, I don't know, keep you kind of on your toes or something. Because once you hit conservatoire, it's like, unless you get a job in an orchestra, you're an absolute failure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
narrative that we
definitely.
all have. And like stuff like West End work wasn't even talked about. And that now I'm looking at, but like, that's awesome. That's incredible. Like an achievement to get into that place.
Yeah.
You guys both do. But there was such a, that feeling of like, oh, I think I did 15 auditions over a series of a couple of years. Got nothing out of it.
Yeah.
And I just, it's kept feeling like failure. But then you're kind of coping like, oh, well, what else am I going to do? Because that's not really happening. Well, maybe I'll try this. And it's just a series of bungles, I think.
Yeah.
But like, I think everybody really feels like that.
100%.
I think anyone who's gone through that conservatoire thing, yeah, you definitely go through periods of feeling like a failure because it's all aimed down that orchestral career
Yeah.
kind of idea. So, but then I think we've talked about this quite a lot. This sort of like this sort of subject, because it's like, is that? I mean, yeah, is it necessary to focus on becoming principal of the LSO or something, just so that it raises everyone's game? So that then, if you can do that, then you could. Well, the argument is, then you could do anything, but like, if you don't get that job, then that's a failure. But really, actually, could you go into doing the West End if you were good enough to do the LSO? It's not really the same skill.
I think some people really respond well to it and others absolutely do not. I know I did,
Yeah,
for example,
yeah.
exactly that thing. I felt exactly the same as you, Jessie, that I just felt like a failure for years. And then the point when I realised and let myself accept the fact I wasn't going to get a job in an orchestra, because I don't audition very well at all, I felt liberated. And now I felt like that was a real corner turn. And
Yeah.
like, I know you own a fantastic trio as well. And was that a wonderful thing when you found this kind of niche that you could absolutely throw yourself into and feel confident?
Yeah, it was, and we were super lucky early on. We like won some stuff. There's actually hilariously, Karis pointed out, St. Martin in the Fields Chamber Music Competition.
Oh wow!
We won a couple
Oh,
of
yeah.
competitions early on that really helped to like make us feel like, yeah, actually this is fine. But even that, like, this is a thing I've been thinking about quite a bit recently. Like that moment, so we worked our asses off for that competition and then we won. I know, and actually it was that one, and then there was Royal Overseas League.
Which
it was
is
that one.
massive, isn't it? Well, both
Yeah,
of them.
yeah. So we worked really hard and then we won this. It was overseas. And I remember we're like, oh my word, this is amazing. Like having champagne afterwards, being like, this is so great. And the next morning being like, does anyone else feel like absolute shit? Not like we were hungover, but everything that you'd work for is there, and you've got it.
Yeah.
And immediately all of us were like, well, I suppose the other people who were in the final were like way younger than us, and maybe we were just in a year of like everyone else is quite weak, so actually we didn't really win that. It was like you immediately reframe it, like whatever you get you're not happy with, and once you've got it, I don't know, we just bought a car for the first time, but like you get, thank you so much, you get a Ferrari and then you're like, I suppose that's my car now, isn't it? Where am I going to have to park it and I have to insure it? Like you get to that place and suddenly you're like, oh, it's not so important or whatever. But I think it took us ages to get to a place where we were like, actually, it's not about the competitions. And now we're trying to, I mean, it's also being a chamber musician. You have to really organize everything yourself and make it all happen yourself. And that can be a bit demoralizing, like if one person's not well and there's only two of you left and blah, 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 blah. But now we're finding like, let's just do what we want. And it's gotten probably to like we did this time last year. Oh, we were in New Zealand, actually from Overseas League a couple of years later. They gave us a tour, which is amazing. And that was the first time we did, I don't know, it was 15 or something concerts. One of Karis or Kay would be listening, but like, wrong. But we did a load of concerts, like, and we got into this sort of flow of playing, and that way when you play so much together. But with this, there's no longer like I want to please someone else or I want to win something or get some audition, or it's just let's do something together and let's play Mozart the way we want to play Mozart, not the way like you're supposed to play it.
Yeah,
like, and be outrageous and a bit raucous and a bit mad, because we are, and like why would we try and straitjacket into something else? And that's like that sort of same thing of like that journey out of conservatoire, into becoming a sort of an artist. But there's still that feeling of like, oh yeah, but we, won that competition, did that thing. But there's another group that are now won the same competition, same year, that are now like Radio 3, BBC 3, what are they called? Young artisty things. Whatever. Next Generation or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So I think there's always that thing, and finally realizing actually everything's grand and I'm just doing it now. And there's no, I know now with what I'm doing, no one else actually does what I do, in terms of like one day I'll write songs about the environment with kids, and the next day I'll be in a psychiatric hospital, and the next day I'll be on a stage, and like doing all those things is no longer feels like a failure. It feels like, actually this is what I'm supposed to do.
I think you get to a point where you realize that you're doing the thing that only you could do, because it's you doing it, and you do it to the best of your abilities, and it's you. And like I was thinking about, like Chris Augustine was talking about this last week, about how he had lessons with Graham Lee, and his sort of ethos wasn't really about learning the trombone or learning the music. It was like learning his own like inner musician, and like becoming who he was as a human as well. So I think if you're playing as a trio and you're just like the three of you are doing it and you're completely relaxed, you're doing, and then you're finding you're playing in a way that no one in the world could play like, because it's just you doing it. So, and I think when you're doing that, then you can't possibly compare yourself to anyone else, because how could they play like Jessie? Because it's like,
and I think that's finally where the art is, because I think I always thought for a long time, like, are we just painting by numbers, like someone else wrote this and then we play it?
Yeah.
But that's where the creativity is when you can finally let go of all of the stuff. Like, we train more than like a surgeon trains to actually be able to manipulate our instruments enough to finally, and then you've still got all these hang-ups that you have to try and get rid of. But I think that is where the art is like, what do I want to do? What do I want to say, and how do I want to say it, and what's important to me? So like now with any concert that I do, I will always present it. Even I had got in a fight with somebody. I won't say who the organisation is, but we were in St. John Smith Square, and they literally were like, do not speak.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was like, well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Because like I'm now quite allergic to that really formal walk on stage.
Yeah.
And when you can speak and make a connection, a human connection, and maybe get a giggle or something out of them, or make them feel something, then you feel like you have them on side and you're together in an experience. And maybe that's, I'm thinking like, as I'm talking, maybe that's what the Garden Jam also felt like, because it wasn't just, hello, I'm Jessie, this is my concert. It was like, welcome to this space, come in to here and feel what it's like to be in this space, even if you're just watching it on your computer, and join in with me and experience it together. Because that's where, and that links up with like the workshopping or whatever that I do. I think that's where maybe where my art is in that communicating, connecting with people and bringing everyone into the same experience. Because I still think if you're in an audience and there's somebody posh up on a stage in a fancy outfit, I mean, that's an experience, but you're not the same. You're they're up there. I'm not gesturing up to the ceiling. And you're like down, sort of a lowly, plebby person that's just experiencing it. Feels almost like unequal. I'm big into the old equality, diversity stuff. So maybe that's part of that as well, like breaking down that barrier.
Well, those are the first things I wrote down, actually, when I was watching the Garden Jam. I wrote down interactive and community, because that is the overwhelming sense that you get. I love you and Emma chatting in between it, like, where are you going to now? That kind of thing. It's just great. And then like when you've got messages coming in from people who are watching it, it's so good. It just makes you feel like that community thing that we all miss so much.
It's collaborative. It's like the people watching are the ones sort of almost in charge of the shows. Like, where's this going to go?
Yeah. And that's really important. And I'm thinking about, like, I had said, you know, there were people who were like, I don't want it to end. Like, lovely people. And I was like, I will do something in the winter, don't worry. But I sat on the couch with Emma last night. I was like, how are we going to make it work? Because especially with all the regulations and stuff, you can't just have I can't have community in the house. It's technically illegal. So like, how you make that feel... Because I think the difference maybe also in having real life people, you had a real life clap, which creates that energy that you can then work off. So I'm currently a bit stuck about how we might do something inside and make it, I don't know, not make it good. I have to try and catch myself. I nearly said it. Make it good, make it the best. No, make it feel authentic and fun and real. I don't know. I still don't know the answer to that yet.
I thought we could talk about your very early beginnings of music. How did you get into it?
I blame Dad. My dad is a very musical man who grew up sort of, maybe, I don't want to say poor because Emma's parents will be like, yeah, right. But grew up kind of working class maybe. And there was not really much space, I think, for sort of music lessons and stuff. I think some people had piano lessons. There was chat about pianos around in the house. And my granny, her side of the family were from the south west of Ireland, County Clare. And Dad always talks about his granddad on that side, like singing, and like he'd have Dad on his knee going, and then the granny would come in and the granddad would stop, freeze. The granny would be like, "Shut up." So it was sort of a sort half permitted and half not, or something. I don't know. So he never really had formal lessons, and always held a grudge about, like, I never got to learn that. So like, I think he found it really important to get us to learn it. I still think he's a stubborn old man, because he could learn it now and he's not. Like, he's in a choir now and he invents this like ridiculous way of notating the music. It'd be quicker if you actually just learned to read. It's a fairly simple system, actually. Yeah.
But to try and remember the tunes.
Yeah, he writes. He just like I don't know. This is my old university. Guido of Arezzo was the person who invented the 5 lines. It was the 5 fingers.
Oh yeah,
that's where the music. Oh really? Yeah, that's where the stave comes from. That was my year 2 exam. Yeah. So, but Dad has basically invented some sort of a Guido of Arezzo vibe thing that he's written anyway. Just ranting about my father now, but he's super musical and like plays the guitar and ukulele and tin whistle and stuff. So we always had like sing songs and things at home. It's super important to him. Like, I think he's a bit gutted that, like, as a professional musician, I'm like, it's Christmas Day, I do not want to play my clarinet. But we always had like pots and pans, and he'd play like Freight Train, and we'd run around and stuff. So that was very present as a little person. Yeah, we always had little toys and different instruments and things. And then there was a competition, I think Dad set up. I mean, I have explored this in therapy. Some of it's not the healthiest of, like, who can be the first person to learn a reel on the whistle. We learned Irish music first before classical stuff. We went up the road to, there's an amazing musician who lives a couple of doors up, who is, do you know Eleanor McAvoy?
No.
She's a singer-songwriter. There was a really famous song called A Woman's Heart. Only a woman's heart. Anyway, very famous in the 90s in Ireland. And Eleanor McAvoy's sister, big deal, lived up the road from us and had a little studio in her house. So I learnt piano from her, but very early on was like, don't want to do grades. And actually, these we were talking about it earlier, play it against Chester. I wanted to learn jazzy things on the piano. And then I sort of gave up eventually. So I'm trying to reclaim that now. So I did that a bit. It was all sort of low pressure. And then it was actually the year after my brother died. My brother was 26, I was 10, and he committed suicide. He had manic depression, which was a huge earthquake and a massive shock in our house. Well, not a shock, he was ill for a long time. And I don't know whether it was like my parents' sort of attempt to, I don't know, help us find new direction or new things, or whether it was just sort of in their plan anyway. We all sort of enrolled in different music. I remember this music schools like soon after James died. I can imagine I went to a three-room primary school. So for the last 3 years, I was in Mrs. McAvoy's room. So I can picture myself in Mrs. McAvoy's room and being worried about going to these places. So I went to, there's a big organisation in Ireland called Cultus Ceoltóirí na hÉireann, which is like the Irish sort of conservatoire for learning trad music. So we started to go to Cultus on a Saturday, and then I also auditioned for the Academy in Dublin. And I was, I think, 10. So James died when I was 10, but I think it was around then as well. It's all muddled up. You know, when you're a kid, it all sort of merges into kind of pillar moments that you remember. So I auditioned, and I wanted to do the saxophone because of Lisa Simpson. Literally my thing.
So inspiring.
Yeah, very valid.
But I was a tiny little kid, and I was too small to hold it. So they sort of laughed at me and were like, "No, try the clarinet." And they chucked it at me, and I was like, "Oh, fine. I'll do it with Mr. Daly," who was my first teacher, Jim Daly. And I sort of learned it that way, being like, I'll get onto this, I'll get this out of the way, get onto the saxophone and be a real cool kid.
Yeah.
And then I never really did. I just stuck with the clarinet then, and it sort of I just kept going. And once we were in the academy, I feel so sorry for my parents now. The three of us, so my sister played viola and fiddle for Irish music. So I played Irish flute and whistle and clarinet. My brother played the uilleann pipes, which are like Irish version of bagpipes. So you have a bag under one arm and a bellows under the other, and you pump the air in and you play it like, it sort of looks like a whistle or an oboe maybe.
Yeah.
So he played the pipes and classical guitar. So we were being ferried on a Saturday. We'd all go to Cultus in the morning, and then orchestra in the afternoon, and then back to like trad band and group in the evening. And then each of us had lessons on different days, I think, in the midweek. So we would get driven into the academy on, like, my poor parents. For about 10 years of their life, they were just like driving us to music lessons everywhere. Yeah. It was insane.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, they're amazing. Thank you.
That rebalances things out.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and then it's sort of, I don't know, it feels a bit like once you're in that environment, and I definitely was like, oh, I found my thing. These are my people. Actually, we went home for summer. I mean, what time of year is it anymore? Pandemic time. We went and it was the summer, and in my old childhood room, my parents had been like clearing out things, and I found this folder, which was my year 9. That's wrong. In Ireland, it's like transition year. You do 3 years. Yeah, it's all different. Anyway, transition year projects, which is after GCSEs, kind of. And I had like, I'm such a dweeb. I'd been like, this is my project about the clarinet, and I'd taken apart my instrument. I got my teacher to like help me like take all the keys and stuff off, and like took photos of it and put it back together. They gave me a really shit mark. Actually, I was like outraged.
It's a disgrace
when I saw it. Like, I don't know what they said. It wasn't. I think they thought I was probably a bit lazy. I basically took the keys off, took photos, and put it in a scrapbook and wrote printed off in Carta like the history of the clarinet, and that was my project. But I think I was quite proud of.
I think that takes a lot of commitment, actually.
Proper nerdy. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I was clearly obsessed by then.
I've let it go. It's okay.
Yeah. And I drew a clarinet for my GCSE art project, and that was like my still life was like a life size. So I was clearly like really obsessed and a nerd.
Did you used to wear a treble clef badge? Sorry, easy for you to say. A treble clef badge, though. What I wore, that's a good one. So as a person of ginger hair, it's very difficult to grow up, even in Ireland, where like the idea is everybody's got red hair. I was definitely the outsider and the weirdo, and this was like the extension of it. Now it's like, this is where my personality comes from, and I'm like, it's part of me. But as a kid, I was a big rocker. I wore like
Nirvana t-shirts. I had a Nirvana riff in my head earlier. And I wore a hat to cover the hair because, like, if you can't be a goth with like this color hair. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I was really like grungy kid. I wore my music in terms of like the other stuff. I didn't even let on really that I was a classical or a trad person. It was all like,
well, that saved you really, didn't it?
Did you have a Slipknot hoodie?
I didn't like Slipknot, so I refused to wear
Oh.
it. Placebo, hoodie, Nirvana. Who else? Metallica. I didn't like Slipknot. I found them too shouty.
Yeah.
Very, very shouty.
I really liked it because I was I was going up to like junior college on a Saturday morning, and I was sort of getting into Slipknot and all that. I remember wearing a Slipknot hoodie and I was into just like learning about those bands. Korn.
Yes. You need Tipp-Ex them onto your school bag.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this yesterday. I went for a walk in Addington Woods. Anyone been there?
yes.
So nice.
Yeah.
Who knew Croydon had somewhere nice in it?
I think on one side of it you can do paintball. That's how I know it.
Yeah, you
Sad
can do
to say.
orienteering.
Oh,
There's
I
an
love
amazing
orienteering.
view of London. You can see like right from like the Croydon, you know, that sort of rusty red coloured thing that
Yeah.
you see when you go on out to Gatwick. And then you can see right across. Anyway, tangent. We were talking about what we would wear because there were teenagers who were like hanging out in the woods. First of all, without their phones. Amazing.
Yeah.
Secondly, they were like wearing appropriately sensible shoes and jeans and like, but they were wearing cool, I think, trendy clothes. I was like, God, they're like appropriately dressed for the weather. And I remember if I was that age, I would have had cords, like flared cords that would cover my shoes. And then even Ireland, like where it just rains all the time, I would just permanently have soggy up to my knees in like grungy. Yeah. So I didn't wear treble clefs. I wore all the sort of rock stuff that I was into. And then got into the more hippie stuff. I softened with age. So by about 17, I was a huge Joni Mitchell obsessive. I learned all of her tunings and stuff on the guitar and all of her songs and things. So I got a bit more that way, like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. The Doors as well. Oh, that was a big one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember a really cool girl in primary school who was into the Doors.
Yeah.
And she,
what primary?
Yeah, she would have been 8 years old.
What was her name? I bet you know her first and second name.
She's called Amelia. I can't remember her second
Oh,
name.
that's my favourite thing about primary school is you always like John
Right.
Denby. You know their full name.
I went to school with somebody called Apollo Blaze. I always think of his
That's
name.
cool.
Amazing name, eh?
That is a very good name.
She was a cool girl. She had like a kind of Jennifer Aniston haircut, sort of middle parting.
Was she a teacher or a child?
Yeah, she taught there. Yeah, no. She was in my class, but yeah, she was like, yeah, my favourite band's The Doors. I'm like, what? No one had heard of The Doors. Like, who are The Doors?
What's a band?
60s band. What is a band? People who go, oh, she likes a band called The Window Panes. That's what people used to say.
Oh, such an Essex
What a
kid.
great joke.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, I can't remember her name, but she's not listening, probably. But get in touch. We talk about Southend.
I was just thinking about funny full names. A friend of ours, Billy, taught a kid called Keanu Jeeves. So great.
What?
Such a great name.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Yeah. Giving Billy the credit for that.
Billy Yates.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Keanu Jeeves. Yeah.
I hope he had a really good personality. What a curse.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So you were doing. So was it trad music that you sort of were mainly doing at that kind of age?
Yeah. So that the sort of unhealthy competition was the first person who could learn a jig or a reel on the tin whistle, and we got £1 or something. Obviously, I was
This
the
is your
eldest. I
dance
clearly won.
competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was his sort of way of trying to get us into it. So I grew up doing trad, like more passionately with that. That was like they were where my crew was. The Saturday morning kids, and we then did like a Ceilidh band that you do like Ceilidhs to, and then a group. So you had Ceilidh band, which was quite strict, and then group of Ceol is music. So group of Ceol was like where you'd be a bit more creative, and actually it wasn't us being creative; it was like the leaders who are now in my head probably they were like only 18. So we did more creative stuff. We'd like put tunes together and harmonize them, and you'd enter them in these big competitions. And that's where the sort of gang is where I got my first boyfriend, like my best mate, Rady Pete, who's now in a very successful band called Lankum.
Oh yeah, we
Do you
were
know
talking
Lankum?
with Jude Rogers.
Oh, were we?
That was one of her recommendations. Yeah,
Lankum are amazing.
Ah,
Proper
cool.
like if you like a good drone. Really good.
Drone.
Yeah, they're like sort of punk trad music. They're so great. But Rady was like my bestie in all through. So I didn't really have best mates in school as much. They were sort of secondary friends. Like, you're fine, you'll do.
Yeah.
But like the kids that I really clicked with were in trad music, and we go away like to, what's it called, the island? Not the Aran Islands. Inish Ear, tiny little. It's the one that Father Ted, when it pans over the ship at the beginning, that's Inish Ear. And we go away on these trips to, like, I'm not sure what the point was. It was like organised by cultists, and we go, and all I know is that we just got really stoned and just hung out. We'd play tunes. Yeah, you play tunes all through the night in the pub, and then in the day we just get really stoned. I remember Brady's parents bringing us, and like, the most fun bit was going in for dinner and like having to pretend to be totally fine, like, and have hickeys all over my neck and stuff.
How old were you at this point?
Oh, probably four? No,
Yeah.
17 maybe. It was towards the end of school. Yeah, so that was definitely my world. I was really big into it, and we actually as well. The other thing was after James died, Mum and Dad bought this gaff in the west of Ireland. We'd always holidayed. My uncle had a place in Connemara near Galway, and we used to go like for a couple of weeks in the summer. And then when James died, I assume they were just like, fuck this, we need to do something else. So they bought this place, which is in the most isolated part of the entire world, in a Gaeltacht, so all Irish speaking place, and just by the sea. And Mam was a teacher, so we'd go. Irish holidays are amazing. That's why a lot of Irish people are teachers, because you're finished in June and you don't go back to in September. You have like 3 full months.
Wow.
Yeah, so Mum would finish and pack us all in the car. So we lived in the west of Ireland for 3 months of the year. And it was really, like, for me, as the older kid, it helped me stay a bit more of a kid, because I'd go there and I wouldn't see others and I'd just play with my siblings. So it helped me not sort of, I don't know, grow up too quickly or something. But the big thing there was meeting Irish trad musicians there. And so, like, I don't know what day of the week it'd be. I've got diaries from this of me being like, oh, I'm really tired, we didn't get in from the pub till 3 a.m. Like, my brother was only like 10, so 10, 12 and 14, or even younger. Like, he'd be 8 or even 7. Tiny little people in the pub, and we just get filled with Lucozade, and Dad would get free pints, and we'd be like playing tunes all through the night. But I've got tapes and tapes and tapes of, like, and then mini discs when they came in. They were very handy because you could record like loads of tunes from these really cool old sort of masters in County Mayo. So that was a massive part of my life. And then it was like, I go back to Dublin, put my like not Slipknot.
No.
Placebo was my band t-shirt on. Have you seen him now?
No.
Oh, look him up. The lead guy from Placebo.
Oh,
He's not doing great. Bless
Oh, is he
him.
not?
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brian. Is that what his name?
Let's have a look
Brian
at him.
something. There's a video of him like doing some sort of singing on stage recently. But he was such an icon, like a gender queer icon. He was so cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, hang on.
So anyway, come back to Dublin and be the city kid again, and wear my cool rocker clothes and go into the centre of town and hang around with other mates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like
Like 3
you had
separate-
sort of 2 different.
Well,
sides
3, because
to
then
you.
there was the classical kids from the academy.
Oh, yeah.
And I go on orchestra tours and stuff with them. So I had that sort of those mates as well. And yeah, so by the time like my 18th birthday, there were 3 rooms. Like there was one room with like a massive trad session going, and then another room of like a load of nerdy classical musicians, and then like some mates from school being like, what the fuck is this? Like, who are all these people? Yeah.
Did you find when you see those people together in the same room, you would be like, this is so weird? When Worlds Collide, I remember because I was at junior college, and then I remember having a party at mine in Southend, and some friends from Southend were there as well, and I just could not. It's the first time I've seen like people from different, because it's so different.
Yeah.
It's like, in the same room talking to each other. I was like, what the hell is going on? I just could not. I don't know. It's
a bit like a wedding, isn't it? I always think that, right? How's this going to go? How's this dynamic?
It makes me,
Yeah,
I get
get-
really quite anxious about it.
Yeah,
like,
me
are they going to
too.
get on?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Do you go into overdrive? Because I'd go into
Yeah.
overcompensation mode and start basically shouting in people's
Really?
faces.
can
Can you believe it?
imagine that, yeah.
I'm sure, yeah.
You guys would love each other.
Yeah. Oh, guess what they do? Same as you. And then they don't want to speak to each
Please
other.
be friends.
Yeah.
No, as the teenagers, it was grand because like the trad kids were just off on their own, and the classical kids were like, "Where is their sheet music?" So the classical kids kind of look at them and like observe. So they didn't really mix that much actually, because they're two very contrasting worlds.
Yeah.
It didn't get on great.
But I remember at your wedding 2 years ago.
Yeah, a year and a bit.
Oh, a year and a bit.
Yeah, last
Time's
May.
gone in a weird way. I can't work out what's going on. But I mean, towards the sort of later part of the evening, a trad thing emerged in one of the rooms, and
Oh, cool.
all these whistles and violins and stuff came out, and it's so incredible. And we get it at the Blythe Hill Tavern is near us as well, and every Thursday night I think they have a trad music, and it's obviously it's a huge cultural thing, but for me, like I just don't know how you're doing it, because I don't know how do you know like what the tunes are and when to move, and it always just sounds so fast and complicated.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how do you know what's going on? And you guys are just drinking in a pub, and but I guess
more and more drunk
are they
as
like
well.
songs that you just have grown up with? You just know them all, but also the structure of the
to
songs
like
and the
show
form.
you, but I have to climb over a lot of microphones. I've
go
got like a tome of tunes.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to go and actually get them.
yeah.
Kill some time, lads. I'm going to climb over.
I'm going to quickly have a couple more Haribo then, and you should do the same.
They're so good.
There you go. Get them down, yeah.
Bet you they're not vegan as well. Yeah, I'll show you now. They're definitely not, I'd say.
Oh no.
I don't care. Sweets and booze.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't mind.
No.
Oh, that's true because
Can only save the world so much.
yeah, I've had some vegan wines. They're mixed bag, aren't they? They're
Not a fan. No. You need the old whatever it is, fish guts.
they're too right.
Yeah.
Gross. Right. Trad Music 101.
Oh look.
So look at this.
Ooh.
Take a photo of it. It's hard to describe. So it's one of those big ring binders. Check it out. Jessie and Clara's Tunes with a Z.
Yeah.
So these are books of tunes, but
Yeah.
this is the main collection. So through all of Tin Whistle, through all of you go to a lesson and you'd get your teacher would probably give you one tune maybe or two, and it's written out like this.
So what have we got?
We've got
Letters.
Yeah.
look how old the paper is as well.
The notes written down as letters.
Yeah, so this is on Shan van Bocht, and it looks like right. What is your test? Right, what keys? What time signature is it in?
This one here.
Yeah, I'm picking one that I won't be able to play.
3 in a bar.
Oh, nice.
Is it?
Three.
No?
Let me have a go.
I actually I've picked a tune. I'm not sure what it is now. I'm going to try and play.
Okay,
it.
look, I'm going to try and explain what's going on here. So you've got, you've got letters, but then sometimes you've got a dash in between the letters, and then sometimes you've got a kind of apostrophe. Mm-hmm. So I imagine they're important details, right?
Yeah. Structural details.
And then sometimes you have a space. So like you have.
Read out the letters there.
Okay, so this one's called The Miller from Glanmire.
Very good. Yeah.
That's just in English. So
Yeah. You didn't pick the Irish one.
Did you just read it in English just very slowly?
Yeah.
The Miller.
Here, actually, the other on Russ of
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll do that one.
over the other side of the page.
Yes.
That'll be easier to figure out.
Okay, and Ross how do you say?
Vrek. I
Vrek.
think it's the flower rose in the heather.
Spelled BHFRAOICH.
Vrek. Yeah, obviously.
Vrick.
Okay.
Okay, so it says first. I imagine that's some sort of structural.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
FAF space EFE. Then you've got forward slash. Then DFA space BAF.
That's what you've
So-
told me so far.
Okay, I've already noticed something. I'm gonna.
And I've given you an easy one as well. Structure.
And then you've got forward slash ABD apostrophe.
Oh,
But
that's next.
Oh, it means goes
Ah,
up the octave.
okay, but you've also written in pencil by ABCD apostrophe and then with a sort of slur mark.
Yeah.
That's what we've got
triple
here.
thing.
Forward slash.
Wait, so far we have. Oh,
Beautiful.
I don't know. I don't know what the tune is. Actually.
F A F. So it says F. That means F sharp.
Yeah, we're in a D whistle. Yeah.
Okay, right. Then you got E apostrophe D apostrophe E apostrophe.
F, I'm going to guess.
I'm going to guess the next one.
Yeah.
Da, da, da.
Yeah. It's very good.
That's F D B. And then A F E.
Down. No apostrophes.
No apostrophes there. No. And then we've got F A F with a line underneath it. Whoa! What did you just do?
Hello.
There?
The roll. I need to preface this with this. When I moved to this country, I basically stopped playing trad. I've been like crippled with this. Like when you're in the world of like cultists and that, there's all this what's the word? Like ways of doing things. Not rituals. I don't know what my word I'm looking for, but like etiquette. Actually, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Of like if you set up a session, you choose the mates that you want to play with, and then if you have some random come in, you're like, who is this? So it's really it can be really exclusive. And like I live 10 minutes from the Blythe. I've not done a session there ever,
No, right?
Because I know what it's like to be on the inside of the circle. And it's really scary to then suddenly be on the outside and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like the Kelly sisters, who I'd like taught Fiona trad, they're the only ones that I'd feel confident enough to play with, because I'm like, I don't know. It's not about, I think I know I'm better, but like they feel safe because they're not going to be all judgy.
Yeah.
So there's a real thing. So this is like a world first here that I'm actually going to play
Yeah.
with. Should I
I'm
play
really
with the sound
excited.
song?
Oh, please.
Yes.
I don't know what this is. That's the first part of the tune. So it's a jig,
Yeah.
3 groups of 3, and a bar line. The 4/ is a bar line. And second part is... Oh, I don't know if this is going to peak, sorry. So you learn that. You have to learn it off by heart. Thank you so
Lovely.
much. You have to learn it off by heart. And then you come back to your teacher next week and you have to play it to them, and then they give you a new tune. So you learn, but like there's
Right.
hundreds and hundreds of them. And then
But how do you know the rhythms to play there?
that's a triplet. So basically you've
it's
got
a jig,
two forms.
you know.
You've got a jig, which is in 6/8, and then
Yeah.
the reel, which was that Miller from Glenmar is a jig as well. Let's find a reel.
Right.
The reel would be, there's Toss of Feathers. It's a famous one. So this is a good one, right? It's got
That's a beauty.
E and then a B with looks like a pause above it.
Yeah,
For some
it's a
reason,
Nito mark.
handwriting Irish music, a pause sign turns into a roll, which is... It's like a grace note.
No.
Yeah. So you learn, I know that, because it's a reel, I know it's going to be in 4/4, so I'm going to figure out that B is for roll is for 3 beats, if you know what I mean. So it's funny though, so I grew up with these two worlds where like most of my teachers couldn't read music, and that's the way you'd get given the tune. Or you'd learn it,
Yeah.
they'd play it,
Oh,
and
yeah,
you'd learn
yeah.
it by ear then.
Because actually most people would learn some sort of trad instrument at some point. Whether they are like a musician or not, they sort of...
Yeah.
You do it like, you know...
Oh, look at that. Cultus Kill Tori Aaron.
Oh.
Look at this. Fla Ochaclia, that's the Dublin Fla, which is a competition festival,
Yeah.
takes place on Friday the 7th, Saturday 8th and Sunday 9th of May, 1999.
Wow.
The venue is St Mary's Secondary School, St Bride's in Killester. The good news is that Clontarf Cultus, that's my brand, is hosting Fla Ochaclia. What? So exciting. Further good news is that such large numbers of children are attending our classes, we're expecting to have loads of parental helpers for the jobs rota.
Oh, wow. Everything is going to plan.
That's mad. I didn't know that was there. That's like, this was like half of my world growing up. was
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
It's weird that I don't really do it anymore.
Yeah, did any part of you that when you got to sort of 18 think you might fancy going the trad route full time?
I think, I don't know, was I too much of a practical kid? You got paid, still, I think possibly, I mean, I haven't lived in Ireland for 10 years now, but 50 quid you'd get for a night of a session.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of like a session here, which is quite a lot more.
Yeah.
So, there was a sort. I think for me, there was also an emotional thing that I was going out with a guy who's a very talented guitar player, and then I realised I was gay. And first we went on a date and we saw Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
I really like that film.
I love that film. I'm so glad you said that.
Scarlett Johansson, though. It's not the film. I mean, the film was good.
Yeah.
My poor boyfriend at the time bought me like the DVD. I love the film so much. Like,
Yeah.
I love that DVD.
So that was it, watching that film.
I think so, but I stayed with him and we were in a really close circle of friends. It was really tough, actually. And then we sort of broke up and I went out with a girl in school. But one of those, if any gays out here, you're going to recognise the secret relationship that you're not supposed to tell anyone about. That sort of fun shame creator. So I was doing that for a while and then ended up going back with Andy Meany. Beautiful man in a very, very good band now with his partner or wife. I don't know, Aoife. I can't remember her second name. Check them out. They're very good, even though I haven't told you what her name is. I can Google it. She's had some really good, like really, really popular songs in Ireland. They've done like the Late Late Show, so you know they're good.
Oh, cool.
But I got back with Andy and then I started uni and by then we finally sort of broke up and I was like, I'm definitely a lesbian by now. I tried it again with another guy in uni, but didn't really work out. But there was that breakup was sort of awkward then because we were sort of not a central couple, but one of the couples in that gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sort of had to walk away a bit. We used to have sessions, this amazing pub that tourists would never be able to find, which is in part of an Irish speaking sort of centre. And you'd knock on the door and you'd have to introduce yourself in Irish and then like sign in Irish.
Oh,
and it was all really like, it stems from like the Rising in 1916, like those clubs to exclude, or just to create an Irish community. But I stopped going to the Connor then because I was like, awkward breakups. Like it was more of a social thing. And then I moved. So I sort of didn't really play since. It feels like it's sort of tangled up in that thing of, I don't really have that gang of friends anymore. I'm not really playing. Yeah, but it's weird that this is just so part of me. And I reckon, like, if I get dementia, I'm just putting my whistle down, so rustling, I'll still be able to play, like, a certain number of tunes that I'll remember. But there's hundreds and hundreds. I don't know, you can see, I have a piece of paper here from a gig that we obviously did sometime. So I'll just have, like, the jig of slurs set, and I'll have CAABGG to just remind me how it starts. And I have to know the rest. But it's weird because I find memorising classical music really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, just different bits of the brain, is it? Just different parts.
I mean, the trad thing is such a strict structure that like a jig will have 8 bars, and then you repeat 8 bars and repeat. It's like more like a jazz head than anything else. So I feel, I always felt like a Mozart clarinet concerto. I mean, I could just about do that one, but like only out of sheer repetition for 15 years. But the structure, I find it way harder. And I like teach at the junior college now. I have these kids. I'm like, can you memorize that sonata for me for next week? I couldn't do that.
And they do it.
They do it. They're amazing. The students are incredible. In many ways, better than me.
Hey, that was part 1 of our chat with Jessie Grimes.
It was.
What do you think so far, Verity?
Well, I'm really enjoying it. I've just got a lot to say. There's a lot more to come. We're going to leave you hanging there, aren't we?
I feel like you're about to say something that's going to rile Jessie up.
Oh, me too. Unintentionally, may I add. But yes, I feel like I am. You might not be able to guess it by our light-hearted japes thus far, but just wait. Tomorrow, you'll see.
You'll see tomorrow. It makes Jessie exclaim the first real big swear word of the interview.
Yeah.
So look out for that. And
Quite proud
if you've
of
got any
myself.
children present, cover their ears up. So there we go. It's part 1, and join us tomorrow or in a couple of seconds for part 2. We'll see you there. Bye.
Bye.